Hi guys, in this video my team were composed by Camila Zapata, Daniela Carvajal, Steven Ortiz, Valentina Arenas, Leonardo Velázquez, and I, Valeria Rodriguez. We will explain you the types of clauses, so let's start. A clause is a comprised of group of words which includes a subject and infinitive verb. A clause contains only one subject and only one verb. The subject of a clause can be mentioned or hidden, but the verb must be apparent and distinguished. A clause is a group of words containing a subject and predicate and functioning as a member of a complex compound sentence. Merriam-Webster.
So the main clause. Every single sentence has a main clause. It's a main idea of a sentence. With the main clause, it can make sense on its own. So let's take a look for some examples. The first example says, my dog loves pizza crust. The word dog is the subject and the word loves is the verb. Let's take a look for the second example. Diana cooked the soda machine. Diana is the subject and cook is the verb. The last example says, my father bought a typewriter. The word father is the subject and the word bought is the verb.
So, subordinate or dependent clauses. These are a group of words that contains a subject and a verb, but it doesn't express a complete thought. There are some tips that help us to identify a subordinate clause. For example, it makes no sense without an independent clause. It cannot form a complete sentence. It always starts with a subordinator. In this structure, we can see that always start with a subordinator. After that, it's a subject, then a verb, and as a result, an incomplete thought. Now, let's look some examples. In this example, we can see that we start with the subordinate clause, but we also can start a sentence with the main clause. When we start with the subordinate one, we need to put a comma and then we start with the main clause. Also, we need to define subordinate conjunctions. What are those? A subordinate conjunction is a word or phrase that links a dependent clause to an independent one. This provides some informative value and are classified according to its function, for example, place, time, or reason.
So, an adjective clause, also known as a relative clause, is a type of dependent clause that works to describe a noun in a sentence. It functions as an adjective, even though it is made up of a group of words instead of just one word. In the case of an adjective clause, all the words work together to modify a noun or pronoun. So we have a relative pronoun, that, where, when, who, whom, whose, which, and why. So the pattern looks like this. Relative pronoun or adverb plus subject plus verb, and as a result we have an incomplete thought. So let's look for the example. Okay, let's start with the pizza, comma, which is a relative pronoun. Most people love, comma, is not very healthy. So we have a list of relative pronouns that I mentioned before. So let's get continue.
Now, a noun clause is a dependent clause. As we already learned, a dependent clause is a clause that it does not have a complete meaning by itself. But if we want to describe or define what is a noun clause, we can define it as a group of words acting together as a noun. So the noun clause serves the same functions as a noun, that is to be a subject, object, or a complement. There are three types of noun clauses. These types are noun clauses that are preceded by relative pronouns, like WH questions like who, what, which, when, where, why, and how. The second one are the ones preceded by whether or with or if. And the last one, the noun clauses that are preceded by that. One example of a noun clause is, I am not sure where he went. As we can see, the noun clause starts with the relative pronoun where, then the subject, and finally the verb. We learned that the noun has the function of a subject, an object, or a complement, but the functions of the noun clause are to be the subject, direct object, indirect object, a complement of the subject, and object of the preposition.
Adverb clause is a group of words that function as an adverb in a sentence. Adverb clauses can be used to add an explanatory detail to your writing and explain how or why things happen. To identify adverb clause, since they are independent clauses, they might have subordinating conjunction to connect them to the rest of the sentence. Here we can see the structure of the adverbial clauses. Subordinate conjunction plus subject plus verb, and we have an incomplete thought. Here we can see the types of adverb clauses that we can find. For example, adverb clauses of place that answer the question where, adverb clauses of time answer the question when, adverb clauses of cause, this answer the question why, adverb clauses of purpose, it also answers the question why. Adverb clauses of condition, it says how it was the action, and adverb clauses of conception that it also answers the question how.